Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Gay Let's Play Dragon Age Inquisition. In our last episode, we wrapped up Hushed Whispers, I think was the name of the main mission, where we ended up finally getting Dorian officially into the Inquisition. Always excited about that, and because of that, I think it's about time that, you know, Art and Dorian start to get to know each other a little bit better. I mean, beyond, you know, being stranded together alone in the, well, post-apocalyptic end-of-the-world chaos. But, you know, extreme situations like that are what brings a lot of people together.
The Inquisition supports free mages. What's next? Elves running Halam-Sharal? Cows milking farmers?
You disagree? Elves running Halam-Sharal, cows milking farmers. So it seems like Dorian thinks that they're... Art's very much a... He wants mages to be free, but he thinks that there needs to be a balance. I mean, mages can, unchecked, can be very dangerous to the world. But he thinks that every mage should be given a chance to prove that they can be trusted. So it's like I guess the rotten apples in the barrel should not affect all of the good mages that are out there. So I guess he's going to challenge Dorian with this.
I take it you don't agree.
On the contrary, I approve. Heartily.
Oh.
I do wonder if you've considered what this support of yours will do. For mages in general, I mean. The Inquisition is seen as an authority. You've given southern mages license to, well, be like mages back home.
Ooh! So long as they're like you, Dorian.
If that means they're anything like you, I approve.
Ha! There aren't many mages back home like me.
Aw.
I'd believe that.
I never fit in. Bloodstains are so difficult to clean, you see.
So we're doomed to a future of blood magic, then?
Not at first. But you'd be a fool not to see where this could lead. Thing is, the Imperium was once just like the South. Templars, proper circles, all that rot. Then it changed. By inches.
Okay.
Not that this is reason to oppress us.
Right.
Still. My homeland should be a cautionary tale, not a source of inspiration.
Alright, that's fair enough, Dorian. I understand. Tell me about yourself.
It occurs to me that I barely know anything about you.
Beyond my being a mage from Tevinter, you mean?
Beyond that, yes.
And beyond my being so charming and well-dressed, which is obvious to anyone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm well aware of your finer qualities, believe me.
Of course I believe you. The moment I saw you, I thought, there's a man who knows quality. Now, what was I talking about? Ah, yes, me.
Ah, yes. You.
I am the scion of House Parvis, a product of generations of careful breeding and the repository of its hopes and dreams. Naturally, I despised it all. The lies, the scheming, the illusions of supremacy.
Right.
That's Tevinter in a nutshell, isn't it? Needless to say, my family was not happy with my choices.
What did you mean by generations of careful breeding?
The great families of Tevinter don't have children. They refine traits, weed out the undesirable, and promote the rest. My mother was chosen for my father because magic runs strongly in her blood. Never mind that they loathed each other.
Oh.
They wanted a son who could become Archon to make House Parvis the envy of the Imperium. They got me. A cautionary tale that you should be careful what you wish for.
Why would your family be upset with your choices?
Because I rejected their idyllic plan. If they had their way, by now I'd be married to some unlucky girl from a powerful family.
Oh.
We'd live in luxurious despair, despising each other as I waited to take my father's place in the magisterium. I declined the honor, and thus it's best I'm far from home. Less of an embarrassment that way, you see?
I'm getting the impression you don't care much for your homeland.
On the contrary, I care for my homeland a great deal. There's so much potential. sadly, we squander it. We refuse to acknowledge how far we've fallen because pretending is easier. We pretend the Qunari can be beaten. We pretend that we're superior to everyone, even our own people. Not everyone feels that way. I don't. Sadly, we're the minority.
Yeah, that is sad. I love what they did in terms of including Dorian as a representative of the Tevinter Imperium, because up through Dragon Age 2, the only major insight or direct personal accounts of what it's like, what the Tevinter Imperium is like, is through the eyes of Fenris, and from Dragon Age 2. And Fenris, of course, has a very specific view on the Tevinter. So it's interesting to have Dorian here to talk about a different perspective, a different side, a different view of the Tevinter Imperium. And he seems to be doing so in a very reasonable way. Like, he's not the complete opposite of Fenris, because Fenris was very anti-Tevinter. Dorian is not completely pro-Tevinter himself, but he's like he's very reasonable about it, which is why I like it a lot. Why I like him a lot.
It just seems so much of what you say about the Imperium is entirely negative.
It might sound that way. For all our faults, my people have many virtues. We are laden with history and culture. Tevinter is where Thedas truly began, remember? We treasure our past and preserve it. You can walk down a side street and find nothing built during the modern ages. And despite appearances, we care deeply about everything. We have no reserve, not in war and not in love. If I truly believed my homeland was beyond all hope, I wouldn't miss it so much.
You do miss it, so why not go back?
Why remain with the Inquisition? Why not go back to Tevinter?
I'm not exactly welcome back home. Not that it matters, I'm quite accustomed to being a pariah. It adds to my charm. I can do more for Tevinter here. If the Venatori succeed, it'll set my homeland back 1,000 years. I'm sure some Magisters would disagree, but that's why we kill them.
I think I've heard enough.
Dorian.
That's too bad. I never tire of talking about myself.
You're so sharp. He's you know, he's definitely got that air of arrogance, but he does it in a very charming, smooth, charming way that it's not a turnoff for me at all. Have you seen Alexius? No.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Ah, yes. Everyone outside the Imperium always seems quite fascinated by it. Probably why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. Flying cows over Minrathous. That's madness. All right, that one's actually true, but the cows didn't have wings. I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
It seems strange that an entire empire would be ruled by mages.
Strange? Why are you less qualified to rule than some tart with a fancy crown?
Hey, I'm a mage
Actually,
too.
the fiction in the Imperium is that mages don't rule. The Magisterium rules. That Magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
Yeah, that is a convenient technicality.
What is the Magisterium, exactly?
The upper house of the Imperial Senate, and the only part worth having a seat on. Those seats are split among the circles of Magi, the Chantry, and the major families. All mages now. It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to every Tevinter mage.
I'm gonna say this again. I still miss the close-up dialogue. I feel it's just so much more intimate, and I feel like I'm actually in this conversation. This, you know, further camera back, I don't like it as much. I don't like it much. It doesn't feel... I feel a bit of a disconnect, you know? It doesn't feel as if I feel like I'm watching the conversation instead of participating in the conversation.
If you're not a Magister, then what are you called? No special title?
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
And an Altus is...
I've never heard of an Altus.
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prophets of the old gods. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later, lower class. If you're not a mage at all, you're Soparati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words.
I did not know that. All this vocabulary, I had no idea.
I thought the Archon ruled over the Imperium.
Well, yes. Technically, he can overrule laws passed by the Magisterium, but that never happens. Even so, he gets to appoint new Magisters, which means all the families vie madly for his favor. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence, let me tell you.
If it's a fiction, that means mages do rule, then.
Yes and no. Let me put it this way. Mages do rule, but not all mages are equal. If you're not from the right family, chances are you don't rule anything. Maybe you're even a slave. The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Can anyone be a mage?
Technically, the potential runs mostly in bloodlines, but it's been known to happen. More importantly, commoners believe it can. Tevinter legend is chock full of mage heroes from humble origins.
Not dwarves, though.
So they hold out hope. Someday my son or my son's son will be a mage. Someday. Poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100 Pillars, at best.
Being a quaestor isn't a good thing?
I imagine the average non-mage likes to think so. Counting numbers and shuffling papers all day is better than many occupations after all. If you're a second-class citizen among a pack of piranha, however, your outlook changes.
But let me ask you something else.
Of course.
This is a big question.
Just how often is blood magic used there?
Oh, not at all.
Not at
Not
all.
at all.
That's what any Magister would tell you. They'd be convincingly offended by the notion, too. Of course, what people call blood magic here, and what we consider blood magic, are two different things.
What do you call it, then?
What's considered actual blood magic in Tevinter?
Blood magic isn't inherently dangerous. Using your own blood or that of a willing participant, what's the harm? The problem is that what's permitted only gets you so much power. And what if you need more? You always need more. That's where we get into sacrifices and demon summoning. None of that is done. Not officially. Behind closed doors, it's a different story. Real blood magic can give you an edge, a leg up against your opponents. It's safe to assume that any mage of rank does it. The rest are quietly shut out of power, to put it bluntly.
You'd think the Templars would object.
I imagine they did, long ago. Once, their investigations might have been sincere. Then their balls were cut off. Too inconvenient. Nowadays, only the friendless are accused. Most of them probably innocent.
Sad.
There must be some mages who oppose this.
Of course. I do. And I'm not entirely alone. Occasionally, there'll be a Magister who makes noise. And then the reform talk begins. All very patriotic. Meanwhile, that Magister will be quietly shunned. Chances are, surprise, it's learned he was a Maleficar all along. Most learn to keep quiet. Me? I enjoy the allure of pariahhood.
Anyone who talks about the Imperium mentions slavery. It's the center of the slave trade.
Ah. That is true.
And did you have slaves?
Not personally, but my family does and treats them well. Honestly, I never thought much about it until I came south. Back home, it's how it is. Slaves are everywhere. You don't question it. I'm not even certain many slaves do.
Well, we don't have slaves in the South.
In the south, you have alienages, slums, both human
True.
and elven. The desperate have no way
That's
out.
true.
Back home, a poor man can sell himself. As a slave, he could have a position of respect, comfort, and could even support a family. Some slaves are treated poorly, it's true. But do you honestly think inescapable poverty is better?
Is that what you call it? treated poorly?
Abuse heaped upon those without power isn't limited to Tevinter, my friend. I don't know what it's like to be a slave, true. I never thought about it until I saw how different it was here. But I suspect you don't know either. Nor should you believe that every tale of Tevinter excess is the norm.
Fair enough.
There's an Imperial Chantry, isn't there? With its own divine?
You people aren't supposed to talk about the Black Divine, are you? If you mention him outside the Imperium, people make that face, like you're urinating in public. But yes, we do have the Chantry, or a version of it. Night and day comparing
Instead
it
of
to
the sun, they've got the darkness, the moon.
Do you really call him the Black Divine?
We don't call him that, oh no. In the Imperium, he's the true Divine. The woman sitting on the Sunburst throne is some backwater pretender.
Huh.
It all stems from a disagreement over Andraste. Marvelous, isn't it?
Why would they disagree over Andraste?
It's not my field of expertise, but the Imperium believes Andraste was a mortal woman, a mage. Down south, they say, no, she's the bride of the Maker, ascended to his side, divine provenance, a blah blah blah. We feel better believing Andraste was one of us. Makes executing her less damning, you see. So we elected a man as divine, the South declared war, and we've been feuding cousins ever since.
So the Imperial Divine is always a man?
All the better to distinguish him from that other one, yes. Don't think there aren't a number of female majesties who bristle at that. Why can't they be divine after all? Same reason you never see a man on the Sunburst throne.
Because that's how it's
always been done.
Right.
Excellent reasoning.
Right.
Is the Imperial Chantry so different from ours?
Not in theory. The main difference is in the whole magic is meant to serve man, not rule over him business. Back home, ruling the unwashed masses is serving them, for the good of the Imperium. Perhaps it started with good intentions, but these days it's academic. The circles are in command.
There are circles of magi in the Imperium?
We don't have dismal little mage prisons, if that's what you mean. They're academies, prestigious ones. We have Templars as well, but they don't cancel spells or whatever your Templars do. They're soldiers.
They don't use lyrium?
Ha! As if there'd be any left for them. They watch for abuse of magic, yes, but only those who are weak or who fall out of favor get dealt with. Mostly they enforce their magisterium's edicts. The Chantry smiles and nods from the sidelines.
Do you consider yourself Andrastian?
The big question.
Yeah, I'm curious.
It might surprise you that I do consider myself Andrastian.
Ooh.
I simply do not believe in the Chantry.
Fair enough.
It is a relic, whether back home or here in the south. Something from a bygone age desperately clinging to relevance. It's not an opinion that makes me popular.
Right. It's sort of like a Christian who doesn't really like a Christian or some religious person who doesn't like organized religion. It's, you know, the chant has his place. I think Art actually agrees with him. He does, actually.
I share your opinion, actually.
That's not surprising, considering what the Inquisition represents. I'll say this. I may not believe in the Chantry, but I believe in you.
Aww.
And me.
That the Maker sent you, whether through Andraste or fate. Cassandra is not wrong.
So sweet.
You are what we needed most at the moment we needed it. That's what they will say in ages to come.
I bet you say that to all the heroes of Thetis. Thorian.
You don't seem like the religious sort, to be honest.
If you define religious as sitting in a chantry and listening to a blithering hen tell you how to live, then no. If you define it as believing in the possibility that something larger than yourself exists, then yes, by all means.
Yeah.
The world is bigger than I, even bigger than you. It laughs at all the things we think we know. The Maker doesn't need me to believe, but I do. The thought of no one at all watching out for us is too frightening.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something else.
So many questions.
Yes, well...
I'm wondering if the Imperium would be a useful ally.
I'd think you'd be more concerned whether or not they'd support the Venatori. They won't. At least, not officially. They'll disavow all knowledge of dangerous cultists. Secretly, many Magisters will rejoice at the idea. And if the South falls to chaos in the meantime, all the better.
It would be in the Imperium's best interest to help. Surely it could use allies.
I think the Imperium gave up on the idea of allies a long time ago. We've been fighting the Qunari for what, 200 years off and on? It's a point of pride that we go it alone. They'll sneer at the South behind their silk handkerchiefs and say, "You've had it easy for far too long." Let's not forget that the Inquisition seems to be an arm of the Orlesian Chantry. Anathema so far as they're concerned.
We're not part of the Chantry. The Chantry opposed the Inquisition's formation.
You think that matters? Don't be silly. The Herald of Andraste. Your very title smacks of the Southern Chantry. You may as well be a heathen. I think they're far more frightened what you'll do if you succeed.
That's it for now.
That's all I wanted to know.
Fair enough.
Except for this.
Have you gone to see Alexius yet? He's in the cells.
Oh, the cells.
Not yet, no. I saw him before they locked him up. He looked despondent, broken. Not the man I remember, nor the one I want to.
I suppose the Inquisition will judge him eventually.
I wonder if there's any chance they'll show him mercy. He hardly deserves it, but for Felix's sake. I can't help hoping there's something left of the man I once knew.
So, I assume you're Talvashoth or something like.
Why would you assume that?
If you weren't, you would have split my skull open at our first meeting before I said a word.
Centuries of warfare with the Qunari do lead to this state of affairs.
Interesting.
You've encountered Qunari before?
Qunari raids are rather old hat for anyone from the Eastern Imperium. Although the attacks aren't quite the rampaging wars of ages past.
Now we're like two angry dowagers who only remember to spit at each other when they pass on the street.
Did you meet any Qunari personally?
None who weren't rushing towards me with a sword.
Well.
I was too busy running in the other direction to say hello. I've met some Talvashoth in my time, however. Mercenaries and a few merchants. They're not the same as Qunari. Might easily be a different people altogether.
If I'm not going to say that it's definitely going to happen, because I'm still keeping, I'm still feeling things out, just seeing how things naturally progress. But if Art decides to try to develop something romantically with Dorian, that would be a pretty interesting forbidden love kind of relationship, since, traditionally the Tevinter mages and the Qunari have kind of been at each other's throats. I mean, there definitely is tension between the two. So that would be, I think that would be really, really interestingly cool. Yeah, I don't care about my online connection at the moment. They're not the same as Qunari, maybe they're different people altogether.
No one in Tevinter has issues with Talvashoth?
I didn't say that. Prejudices are deeply rooted back home. But I have more sympathy than most.
That's nice to know.
I also have an appreciation for an entire people who are so muscular. A personal failing, some would say.
Ooh. I considered killing you now. I have no issue if you don't.
If you've no problem with me, I've no problem with you.
A philosophy I've learned to live by.
No issue with my being Inquisitor, then?
None that specifically involve you being so very, very large. No.
Oh.
Good.
No comment.
I should go.
Try not to die. I would notice you were gone.
Oh, that's so sweet. And finally, he actually said, I should go.
Here we are again.
Oh, I can't talk to you anymore. Dorian.
I should go.
Try not to die. I would notice you were gone.
Alright. Thank you, Dorian. Alright, let's go ahead and see what Sarah thinks about Dorian now that he's joined our crew. Hey, Sarah.
I met Wharton. Well, that's mages all over. So many robes, I bet all of Ferelden lost their curtains. I'll just be the other side of Haven, just in case.
Do you have a problem with our new allies? With mages?
No problem with mages. You're fine, right?
That's what I thought.
My problem is magic. If mages sat on their hands, everything would be fine. I mean, yay, freedom. Great for them. Over there, away from me.
That almost sounds like I don't mind gay people as long as they don't act on their gayness. I don't know, Sarah. Something about that kind of hits me a little personally there.
What do you think about the people who have gathered?
Again with your people. Right, which ones?
Dorian.
What about Dorian?
It's fun. Could lose a bit more to Vintage.
He's a bit more to the Victor.
We'll talk later.
Good, right? I'll be here.
How are you doing, Felissa?
Can I get you anything?
There's nothing good for you.
Farewell.
Goodbye.
Maybe, I'm wondering if Cullen or Sand or Solus or anyone has anything new to say since last we spoke to them.
Good day to you, Herald of Andras.
Good day to you, my dear.
So we have gained the mages. Excellent. They should be able to seal the breach. You are certain you experienced time travel? Could it have been an illusion? A trick of the Fade?
Dorian is certain.
Dorian was sure. Impossible as it seems.
Oh,
What an amazing gift. It is vital the Inquisition succeed to avoid the future you witness.
I saw you there? I didn't see him there. It was terrifying, though. Doesn't matter. It does matter, and I didn't see him, so not amazing terrifying. He might approve.
So many
Yeah.
were dead. More had been corrupted. Knowing what will happen if we fail.
I suggest we not fail. Speaking of which, you should ready yourself.
For?
This Elder One. You have now interfered with his plans twice. Once at the Temple of Sacred Ashes, and now again at Redcliffe. A being who aspires to godhood is unlikely to ignore such an affront.
I know that Solus disapproved, but in character, I couldn't have answered those. I couldn't have answered those questions any other way. So, to try to, I had a feeling he was going to disapprove, but there was nothing else I really could have said. Oh, Liliana. I'm wondering how she's doing. I don't think she remembers any of that.
It
though.
seems Blackwall knows nothing about the disappearance of the Grey Wardens. It's a disappointment. I am, however, glad that he is with us, even if he was not what I expected. He seems to be a good man, and his experience will be an asset to the Inquisition. As for the other Wardens, I suppose we will have to keep looking.
In Redcliffe, you sacrificed yourself so that I could return here.
Of course I did. One small life in exchange for a second chance at history. I always loved a bargain.
It was still a sacrifice, and still noble.
And I would do it again.
Oh, Liliana. This is why I love you. Carry on, Liliana.
I'll leave you to your work.
I love you so much, Liliana. It's the red hair. It's more than just the red hair. Varric.
The Mage Rebellion joins the Inquisition. I've got to admit that's a twist I didn't see coming.
Well.
One thing you saw in the future worries me. I mean, it was all bad. But Red Lyrium and Ferelden, infecting people and growing out of them, that's bad. Finding more of it really punches a hole in my Red Lyrium at the temple was a coincidence theory.
How long does it take for Red Lyrium to grow? How fast can it spread?
It took years to infect people in Kirkwall, but no one there was actually ingesting the stuff. This Elder One managed to take the worst thing I can think of and make it worse. That's an accomplishment.
I'd like to keep hoping it's a coincidence, if you don't mind. I need to be able to sleep at night.
Honestly, I think I'll give up sleeping for the foreseeable future. I've got people trying to find out where the red stuff came from. I think maybe we should make that a priority. But that's enough doom and gloom. You just won a big victory for the Inquisition. What are you going to do to celebrate?
Anything but celebrate? Plan for what's next. Have a party. Catch up my breath. Yeah, why not? Have a party.
That's a good point. We should celebrate. A banquet. Something like a banquet.
Word to Josephine, and I bet she could arrange anything.
Ooh, could she?
Things should be calm around here for at least the next hour. Take a moment to enjoy it. If the world's about to end, I'm sure the Seeker will let us know.
Ooh, I would love a party. Art would love a party. I see Art as the kind of person who likes to let his hair down a little bit when he's in a party setting. Hey, Culls.
The mages are ready to approach the breach. I pray this will be enough to close it.
Do you and I have a problem? I hope not.
You weren't happy with how I brought in the mages. You have a problem with me as well.
Of course not.
Good.
I have no intention of endangering your alliance. I must ensure the safety of those.
I understand, Colin.
That concern extends to the mages. They are putting themselves at risk for the Inquisition, as are you. Any precautions taken are meant to aid you, nothing more. I hope you will accept them as such.
Yeah, of course.
Is there anything I should know?
Not at present.
That's all for now.
Should you require anything, I'll be here.
Thank you, Colin.
Yes?
I still love you.
That's all for now.
I'm sure you have other matters to attend.
Colin is a smart enough man to look past certain things like that, to see the real issues.
And what are we supposed to do, exactly?
What you always do. Complain.
We've already spoken with Commander Cullen. No one listens. We want better quarters. We want the Templars kept at a distance. And some respect for...
This is not the Circle. You mages are our allies, not our wards. Act like it.
How are we supposed to...
Deal with it.
Oh, God. Good gosh. Hi, Cassandra.
It never ends, evidently.
Is there an issue with the mages? Can I help?
The mages are here as equals. They need to get used to what that means. It is your doing, after all. You created this alliance.
Well, I hope it works. What other choice do we have?
Oh. I do sound like I'm blaming you, don't I?
Yeah.
I don't disapprove. In fact, you did well. You made a decision when it needed to be made.
Thank you, Cassandra.
And here we are. I wish I could say this was my doing.
See, that was so nice. Cassandra realized that she was giving off this, you know, blaming tone in her voice, and she acknowledged it and corrected it. And I'm glad. She cleared things up, and I'm glad.
We wouldn't be here at all if you hadn't stood up against the Chantry.
You're being kind.
You're discounting your role in this.
Let's close the breach. Then we can say how successful I was.
Yeah, fair enough. Alright. I also did a good bit of shopping, or selling rather, off camera. So there is that. I think I've spoken to everyone out here. Because I spoke with Solus, I spoke with Sarah. Oh, Blackwall. Blackwall, I didn't talk to Blackwall. I think he's still... Yeah, Blackwall's still over here. So, and I still have Vivienne inside of the Chantry. So let me just call Blackwall, talk to Blackwall really quickly. And then next video I can... Or not the Chantry. Well, yeah, it is the Chantry. Next video I can talk to the people in the Chantry.
Travel safely.
Or, you know what? No. I'll go ahead and start with Black Hole in the next video. So thanks everybody for watching, and until next time, love yourselves and love each other.